Amazing. Welcome. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and just give people a few more minutes to join, and then we'll get started. Hello, how's it going?
Hey, good. How are you?
Good, good. Welcome, welcome. What's your name?
I'm Zlatko.
Zlatko? Nice to
Yeah,
meet you. Where are you tuning in from?
I'm from tuning in from Prague.
Oh, fantastic. We have someone tuning in from Prague. Wonderful. I think we have some people in England and the USA and Prague now all joining in.
Cool.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to wait for a few more minutes just to give people like another minute or two to join in, and then we're going to get started, go over some house rules, and jump right into it.
Sure, sure.
Fantastic. And you can feel free to keep your video on. I'm going to start sharing the screen and it'll pop off to the side. So
Okay.
it's going to be a very interactive class. We have a small number on Zoom and then more people watching on YouTube. So we're going to get a little hands-on today. How does that
Okay.
sound?
Cool.
Good. Ellen, how many people do we have? Okay, great. Never mind. She's already answered my question. Great. Okay, cool. All right. Let me share my screen and we are going to get started in here. Fantastic. All right. If everyone's joining in, if you just want to go to mute yourself just so that it doesn't get clouded with that. And also, if you want to see my face the entire time while viewing this, if you go over to the little box of videos, if you may already know this, there's that middle box that says speaker view. If you click on that, it'll show the active speaker and you will be able to see me. All right. Okay, let's get started. So welcome, welcome. Today, we are going to be looking at translating your personality to the digital space. It's kind of the starting point where I like to jumpstart things for people because the biggest problem I see a lot of times are when people have a particular personality that shows up in person or their brand, like a physical store, but it doesn't really translate to the digital space. There's kind of that clashing of heads of identities. And I'm hoping that today we are going to learn some simple steps on how to take your personality or your brand's personality, whatever it might be, and translate it to this digital space. So let's get started. So a little bit about me, because I want you to trust me. Like, why am I, this guy doing this webinar, have the right to talk about this? Well, my background, I'm from Georgia in the United States, and I went to get my electrical engineering degree at Georgia Institute of Technology. And then once I graduated, I completely jumped ship and became an actor, playwright, and producer up in New York. And I'm actually right now in the middle of transitioning back down to Georgia. And then since then, I have 8 years of experience building Squarespace websites, which I absolutely love because Squarespace is the most amazing thing in the entire world. In my opinion, there's other website platforms, but I think that Squarespace is just stellar. And I also have 5 years of experience managing clients, digital media, and branding. The reason why I want to bring this up for all of y'all is because I have a strange blend of worlds. I come from a very technical world, my engineering side, and then also a very creative world. My style of branding or learning how to brand really comes about through those blends. I like to simplify the process, but not convolute it while also being super creative. So with that in mind, let's see what we're going to be learning about today. So the process that I want to take everyone on is first starting with keywords. Then we're going to hit the mission statement, taglines, font types, colors, sample images, short blurb, and then we're going to finish it off with a long about. Now, when we're stepping through this entire process and you take this on to work on your own, I do suggest following everything in this order. I've designed this system in such a way where once you get through it, you'll recognize that it kind of builds on top of each other. You really can't focus on talking about sample images for your website without knowing your keywords, your mission statement, and your color palette. And you can't really do a long about until you really know what you are about or what your business is about. Now, at the end of this, we're going to take time to look at some examples, walk through some clients of mine, and kind of showcase how I took their personality / their brand and translated it to a digital space. We're also going to have a section for questions at the end where we have people on YouTube Live. There's people in this wonderful Zoom class. Feel free at any point, by the way, to just type into the search box your question. Ellen, who is amazing, she is running the Prague Fringe account. She's moderating that, and she's going to basically call out any questions at the end of sections just to let me know if, if anyone needs anything. And she's also going to pop in wonderful links near the end for ways for you to support Fringe and all their other wonderful activities. So with that being said, now that we have the introduction out of the way, let's go ahead and get started with keywords. We hear a lot about keywords. Now, if you're really into branding, keywords play a vital role in SEO, which is true. For this simplified branding 101 about just translating your personality, we're not really going to worry too much about SEO at this point. But if you have an interest in that, you know that you can tie in your keywords to an SEO, which for those that don't know what SEO means, it means search engine optimization. It's kind of the back end of all searches. Keywords, not too hard. When you're translating your personal brand or your business's brand, you should always have 5 to 7 words, no more. I want you to not think too hard about this, right? It can be words such as spicy, fun, energetic, thrilling, mysterious, old soul, bouncy, things that come naturally to you about your personality / your brand. The one thing I do want to say on this, and it kind of plays into like the don't think too hard part about it all, is because there are probably over 100 unique words that describe you or your brand, right? There's tons of options out there, so many options. I mean, you can look in the dictionary and just decide to pick up words and just pick one, right? The reason why I only want you to do 5 to 7 words is because I want you to narrow your focus down on the most important things people should know about your personality / brand. This narrowing of focus is going to allow you to talk more methodically and talk in such a way that it can be the same across the board, from your digital platforms on social media to your website to all of your print material even. It can feel cohesive with a narrow focus. And again, if y'all have any questions, feel free to pop in the chat box. Ellen will call them out to me and I'll pause and take them. This class probably won't take 90 minutes, but we have 90 minutes in case people want to learn more about anything. We have open discussion. Mission statement. Mission statements, I think, are probably one of the most peculiar things to write. In teaching at Atlantic and having coaching a bunch of people throughout New York and the South, I find that most people have never written a mission statement, especially if they're a performer. Most businesses, brick and mortar, stone, or online businesses will have a mission statement and they might be more familiar with what it is. Creatives tend to shy away from ever creating a mission statement. When developing your brand, I think a mission statement is one of the most crucial things to have because it kind of gives you a visceral reaction to why you do what you do. Now, a mission statement, in my opinion, there's different theories about them, but again, this is the way that I think about it. I think of mission statements as being between 2 and 3 sentences, no longer. It should be short, concise, and to the point. But it also should dig deep, which when I say that, you need to really watch out for the words that aren't actually descriptive. For creatives, because those are the people I mostly work with, the thing that I see that people kind of get hung up on when it's not really digging deep as to why they do what they do are words such as perspective, lens, or want people to see through a particular lens, right? That kind of word choosing or word choices, doesn't really tell me anything about why you are doing what you do. A good question that I like to ask people is, a mission statement should kind of be that thrilling statement that explains that if money wasn't an issue, this is why you're doing what you're doing, right? Which is especially important, I think, for creatives, because it really grounds us in the sense of that we're not in it for the money, right? Especially fringe artists, there's not a lot of money in fringe or being a fringe artist. We are lucky to break even, and that's the reality that we live in. But we love the work that we do. And a mission statement is kind of the physical written down formation of why we love what we do. Now, let's look at an example of a mission statement that's not so great. This is a mission statement that needs a little bit of work. My mission is to show others the power of theater to help the audience see their particular lens on a social issue. When we want to dig deep in this, right? Some areas that we could dig deep in this mission statement where I would challenge someone is the sentence or the section, power of theater. What power of theater? What medium of theater? You know, what is the impact that you have, the audience gets, and maybe what the other creative team gets, right? Like, what are they taking away from it? Two other things that you can kind of dig deep and pull out of this mission statement is particular lens. What particular lens? You know, for me, for example, it's a queer Southern lens. Like, that is the lens that I bring to the table. And those are things that I shouldn't shy away from. And then social issue. Okay, what social issue? We live in a time where social issues are such a strong point for a lot of people, but there's also dozens upon dozens of social issues to pick from. And my challenge for most people is that you probably aren't really focused on all social issues. There's probably a couple that you really love, and that's the work that drives you. Now, I understand that this mission statement is more for creatives. I have other examples at the end that we're going to talk about and go over about businesses, and we can look at those. So that's where we can change it. So now that we know where to grow this mission statement, let's look at a mission statement that really kind of ticks all the boxes. All right, here's a great descriptive mission statement. It reads, to create work that causes the audience to see the limits of our humanity, to understand that being broken doesn't mean we are defeated. It is just a tool to empower others to become better versions of the person they were before. My goal is to share all of me so that others can find solitude and fortitude in life. Right? This mission statement, it's 3 sentences long, but it gives you a lot of really wonderful details about what this person is about, the kind of work they want to create. And you also get a very kind of like visceral reaction or an emotional reaction from it. Some people might call it a little, what did my partner call it today? I was reading this today, and he used some word, and I was like, well, I guess that's another word to use. Floofy, fluffy, I don't remember. Anyways, the moral of the story is it got him thinking about the kind of work that this person would do. Any questions so far about mission statements? How are we all feeling? I can see a few of y'all. We doing okay? over there? Great. Awesome. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Taglines. Okay, so this is our third thing we're looking at. We went through keywords and we went to mission statements, and now we're going to look at taglines, which are honestly, it's some of my favorite work to do. Taglines, you probably should create about 2 or 3 variations to fit your particular brand. I'll get that in a minute. They should be fun, interactive, and they should also be snippets of your personality. And they should be something that maybe isn't as heavy as a mission statement, right? It should be engaging, and it should give me a little bit of insight, that snippet of your personality. Now, the reason why I said it should link to your particular brand is because let's say you are multifaceted. Let's say you own a business and you also paint on the side, and you have these 2 lives, and you're actually using this module to find 2 different brands, right? You have your brick and mortar business, maybe it's a coffee shop, let's just say, and then you have your artistic creative side, which is painting. You should be using this method and creating 2 different branding guidelines, because those are 2 very different sides of your life. So when you're coming up with a tagline, your coffee shop should have a different tagline, mission statement, keyword, and then your drawing painting side should have a different set of keywords, a different mission statement, and then different taglines, because the brands aren't the same. You're the same person, but those are 2 separate identities that we're trying to get a narrow focus on so that people recognize the difference between both sides of your life. Now, some examples of mission statements. The first one, I tell stories, is from a wonderful friend of mine, Gavin, who is in Australia. He is a actor, creator, director, writer, producer. I mean, he kind of does it all. And this tagline he created was a very simple way to kind of tie in all those aspects of his life together. The reason why we tied them all together, because we decided that that brand was the same brand. You know, it's not the example of like coffee shop and painting. Being an actor, producer, or director, he wanted to mold that into one brand, and we created a tagline that spoke to all of that. And if you know Gavin, this is something he says all the time too. The second tagline as an example is engineer turned actor. Now, this is one of my taglines that I created. I've been using this tagline since 2014, so 6 years now. I've been using this tagline, and it's on my website. It's on some marketing materials of mine, and it's gotten to a point, sharing a personal story, where I sometimes walk into the audition room and people recognize me via my tagline. That's the thing they hook onto. And that's kind of the beautiful thing about taglines. It's a way that people can hook onto who you are or your personality if they can't remember your name. It's just another layer of branding that ties you in with, this is who I am. A really fun friend of mine came up with this longer tagline: a bubbly soul that will strike you with her comedic timing and high A's, all while balancing on one leg. Now, the story behind this is that we were blending her yoga fitness world. She's a yoga instructor here in New York, and also her opera background plus musical theater. So she created this tagline that spoke to her very energetic nature. If you met her in person, this is so her. And it's just a fun way to remember everything that she does in life. The final tagline I want to share with y'all is, I support people to investigate self to find their soul purpose. This is a wonderful woman who is a writer and a keynote speaker. And she created this tagline to kind of quickly tell people what she was about, what her mission was in a way. It's not her mission statement, but it's kind of linking to it. And that's all about taglines. The one last thing I want to say about that is just have fun. They're really fun. Don't get too caught up in the right structure of it. It should fit your personality and make sense to you. And if you're getting stuck, always ask a friend. Our friends, especially if we're trying to do that thing of taking our personality, if you're a creator, a creative person, and translating it to the digital space, our friends can be the best support system that we have. They'll be very honest with us if we're hitting the mark or missing the mark. Okay, font types. This is probably the scariest part for a lot of people, I feel like. Based on the sole reason that if you've ever looked at fonts, there are probably thousands upon thousands upon thousands of fonts to pick from, which is very daunting because there is this idea that you can get stuck in your head of not finding the right font that fits you. And so you go on this mission to try to find that perfect font and spend a lot more time than you probably should trying to find that thing that fits your brand. The way that I look at font is different than most people, but I think it helps to simplify the types of fonts that fit your brand and just narrows that focus to a particular set of fonts. The way that I like to look at fonts, bringing in my engineering side, is kind of on this XY axis where we have sans serif on one side, which is modern, and then serif, which is more classical, has that little tail, like Times New Roman is a great example of a serif font we all know. I then like to look at fonts more from a feminine to masculine perspective. Now, when I say feminine and masculine perspective, I don't mean in the sense of gender, right? I mean the sense of energy that gives off. A great example of this is I use fonts on my website that are more modern, but they're a true 50-50 blend of like masculine and feminine. Because even though I represent male and I consider myself male, I have that quality. My personality is kind of that intersection. And instead of shying away from that, I'm leaning into that because it speaks to my personality. And I have 4 really wonderful fonts here that kind of describe the differences. So let's look at Railway first, which is one of my favorites. It's a beautiful font. It's lovely. This Railway font is in more of the masculine domain because if you look at it, you can tell it has more of those sharp points. It's sharp, it's rigid, it's very structured. Feminine, if we bounce up to the Allegria font, it's very similar to Railway. But if you notice, there's actually slight curvatures in the way things are done. It has more of a curved effect to it, which would be considered in like eyesight curve, bringing more of that feminine quality that we're looking for. So when we're looking at modern fonts, you can kind of separate them out into these 2 sections. Now, for serif fonts or those classical fonts, we can also look at it the same way, right? Stencil is, again, has those sharp points. It has that foot that we're looking for, which is serif, but it has those nice sharp points, which gives it more of that masculine quality. Forum has more of this curved nature to it. It leans into it. The M is curved. The lettering is kind of curving near the center as well, which gives it more of that feminine quality. If you use this method to find the font that fits your brand, it will help you just narrow it down. I also suggest, I'm going to say this again, probably throughout it if I haven't already, don't think too hard. When you find something that works and it feels right, go for it. Usually that instinct reaction that we have is our gut telling us, oh, this is appealing. This is what I should go with. The last thing I will say on the fonts is when you're designing products, print material, social media posts, or a website, you should probably only stick with 2 types of fonts. 3, maybe, if you're using the third one very sporadically to make a point, but really condense your font choices to 2 fonts. Getting a little crazy with the amount of fonts. One, if it's a website, can lag the time of loading because it has to load every single font type. And it also can seem a little chaotic to the user. A lot of the branding guidelines I'm trying to show y'all is really user focused. You want to hold their hand, much like you would in a play. If you're writing a play, your job is to take care of the audience. And then as an actor, director, producer, you also need to take care of the audience. And branding is the same thing. You need to think of them with them in mind, your audience, who's on your website. Are they going to enjoy this? Are they finding it easy to navigate? And hopefully these tips and tricks will help you. I see a chat question. Okay, question. How about fonts for businesses and determining fonts for business and working out whether your business is on the masculine, feminine side? Great question. I would have to say that, it's a great question because obviously business don't have a gender assigned to them, right? So you remove that automatically. But I argue that businesses have either a masculine energy towards them or a feminine energy, depending on the persona created around the brand. So when you're thinking about font choices, it might be that you actually just look at the owner or the founder. Maybe you're pulling from their persona or their business and determining if it's a more masculine or feminine. For most businesses, I would say right now, you definitely want to go with sans serif, those modern, clean fonts. You also want to consider making them bigger than you think. People sometimes have a hard time reading on websites and pages, so always go for maybe 14-point fonts or higher. Something very easily readable is always a good pick. And if you explore those sans serif fonts, especially for businesses, you'll find a ton of them that blend masculine and feminine together. They're kind of neutral fonts. Or you can go with fonts that have more of that rougher edge. But if you look at your keywords that you chose will impact what that energy is as well, right? So that's another way to look at it, is once you have those keywords and mission statement, tying that into your font. How does your font choice support that? It all ties in together. Really great question. Okay, we're gonna keep on moving on and keep throwing questions as you have them. Colors. Colors are one of my favorite things to do. I think it is so much fun to play around with colors. There's a whole world of color emotional theory, which we're not going to get into today. But if you're interested, just Google color emotional theory, and you will pull up some amazing articles and color wheels on how different colors evoke emotion. Again, it's hearkening back to the idea that we have to take care of the user. We're trying to tell them something, and colors play a huge impact on that. A little side fun fact about how color plays into your emotional state. Red is a color that makes you hungry, apparently, which is why most fast food chains use red in all their branding. Is because when we see red, I think it's based upon like the historical context that we see red as meat and meat as food. So we've associated red as wanting us as becoming hungry. But the thing that I want to focus on is just how simply you can choose colors that support your brand or your personality. When you're looking at colors, you really should only consider a primary and a secondary color. This presentation is actually a really good example of that. I used a primary dark seafoam blue green in this, which is that circle you see right there. And my secondary color is actually this lighter shade of blue. And then I have a third color I use, which appears mostly on my website that I'm building. More to come on that, maybe hoping to launch soon. And that's the background for this presentation. So the great thing about this is that this presentation matches my website, which matches my business cards, which matches all of my branding. And the way that I found this is that I knew that I wanted to go with this like green. I found this green online by searching some other sites, and I went to colorhexa.com. It's one of my favorite tools. All my students use it. And all I did is I put in the hex value, which is a 6-digit / letter combination that represents a letter. Sorry, not a letter. It represents a color. Color Hexa then spit out all of this information about the color. It's split complementary, it's triadic, it's analogous color, and then also it's monochromatic color. For my personal brand that you're seeing on this presentation, because I already spoke about it, I chose monochromatic scale. So I started off with the seafoam green blue, and then I kept just dropping the monochromatic scale down until I got lighter shades of it, and then picked 3 shades that were appealing to the eye. And then that's just kind of what I ran with. So once you find that primary color that you want to go with, plug it into Color Hexa. Let this tool do the work for you and find colors that are appealing to the eye, and then create your color palette from there. You won't have to work as hard. And have fun. I say try out different colors, see what might work. But again, like, don't go too crazy. You definitely shouldn't be going, 5 colors might be a little much, you want to stick with just like 2 or 3 for sure. Keep it simple. Simple is amazing. Okay, sample images. We're gonna keep on chugging along and answering questions as we go. So now that we've done all this work, right? We've gotten our keywords, we've gotten our mission statement and our tagline and our fonts and our colors, right? We're now going to kind of distill all of this information that we've already written down and created to find 5 images that help tell your story/branding. Now, there's a great tool I love to use called Unsplash.com. And Ellen, thank you so much for putting those links in the chat. You are a gem. Unsplash.com is a fantastic tool that gives you copyright-free photos. These are professional photographers from all around the world that basically put their photos up for free for you to download, to use without having to credit them. So what you can do is basically, once you have your color palette, your keywords, your mission statement, your tagline, instead of leaning on the photos you might already have that support your brand, I challenge you to go to Unsplash and try to find 5 new images that speak to your brand. The reason why this is helpful is because these images could be used on social media marketing, digital marketing in general, like Facebook ads, Instagram ads. You could use it on like little flyers for your show maybe, or your product or your business. It can also translate to your website by being beautiful banner images that speak to your personality. Now, I was running this platform, my mom, like making sure everything was nice and smooth, nothing was broken. And she mentioned that when she was on Unsplash, she was really overwhelmed by the amount of information she was on there. It was much like when we were looking at fonts together, her and I, because there are so many photos on there. When you're searching for a photo, keep in mind that you're not trying to find a photo that fits all 5 keywords, really. You maybe want to find a photo that speaks to 2, right? One of my students, Roy Byrne at Atlantic Acting School, she was in a 3-year conservatory program, and she was a mom of 2 kids. She used to be a senior marketing executive at Nike. The reason why I say this is because the age difference between her and the rest of the students was about 25 years. So she felt more of this, I forget her actual keywords, but they were along the lines of like adult or mother, because she was older amongst her peers coming out into the acting industry, trying to branch out more. And she also had charismatic, I want to say, fiery, driven, and I think it was enthusiastic. And I wish I had found the picture. I'll do it next time. But she found a picture that was a forest of green trees, tall ferns, I think they were, pine trees, very tall trees. And in the center of it was one tree that was golden. And it just spoke beautifully to that idea of being like standing out motherly, like those kind of ideas that she was playing with, about how she was standing out amongst the crowd because she's a mom. Like, she's not a typical younger 20-year-old studying acting. And she leaned into that because that was part of who she is. And if you check out her website, you see that imagery. You see how she's pulling away from the crowd by trying to be different, by having all of this training and still having the wisdom that being a mother brings. So all that being said, when you're looking at images, don't think too hard about it. If it speaks to your brand, like, I like this speaks to it, and you can answer the question why, and you have an answer of any kind, you're good. And Ellen, thank you again for dropping those links in there. Super, super helpful. Okie dokie. Short blurb. This, pretty easy for most people. Max 5 sentences. It should be to the point. If you're kind of stuck about what a short blurb should be, which again, remember, it's not the mission statement. Your mission statement talks about why you do what you do. Your short blurb is a brief, shorter than an elevator pitch description of you, your personality / your brand. And if you're having trouble figuring out what it should talk about, I always like to ask these 3 questions and then answer them in 5 sentences. Where you've come from, where you are now, and where you're going. It's kind of the thing that people are most curious about when they're trying to figure out who you are, who your brand is, what your business is about. It just lets them know the history, what you're currently about, and then what you're heading towards. And it gives them that nice little arc, very simply about who and what and where and anything else they might need. Now, long about. For creatives, I find that this is a lot harder for them because even though they tend to like to talk about themselves, usually, not everyone's like that, right? There is a bit of a struggle with writing about yourself because it feels very self-indulgent. But what I want you to think about is someone may never see your long about. If it's on your website, and if they navigate to like your story, bio, about me, about us, about the business, whatever you call it, they're on there and they're on that page on your website because they want to read about you. So with that being said, I always push people to write minimum of 5 paragraphs. Again, people are on your website and they click the tab to learn more about you because they are actually interested in reading about you. I generally say make this a 5-minute read or less, which could be between 5 and 10 paragraphs of text. And even if you never use this on any kind of branding material, it's good to know for your sake because it just lets you know where you've come from. Out of all the years you've been alive in business, all the minutes, all the seconds, all the hours, you're honing in on the details that helped get you to where you are today. And it just helps combine that storytelling process that is so important in branding. Because branding, when you really dig down deep, it's about storytelling. You're evoking emotion. You're telling people about you, your business. You're telling people what you're trying to do, how you're trying to help the world or make a dollar, right? What services you offer. And if you think about branding as storytelling, I find it easier to talk about it and to really hone in on what that story is all about. Okay, so that's that. That is everything when it comes to my version of branding, at least the baseline before you get started on creating all the wonderful material that you need for branding purposes. Now we're going to look at a few examples. These are clients of mine that I've worked with, and we're going to break down their cover page. So I built them a landing page. We're only looking at that. We may go onto their website because we do have plenty of time near the end to like look at them in more detail to showcase how their branding spoke to each other. And I'm also going to take a drink of water because I'm talking a lot. Okay, so this is Christopher Joel Onken. He is a wonderful actor and yoga instructor. He was on The Inheritance on Broadway recently. we focused in on his nomadic acting lifestyle. Now, I'm going to share with y'all his keywords, and you can just type in the chat box. And I think there's only like 4 or so people. So if y'all want, you can unmute yourselves and you can just kind of tell me what you think, if it hit these 5 keywords that we created. So Christopher's keywords that we went with are nomad, ethereal, adventurous, empathy/compassion, charismatic, disciplined. So looking at this landing page, what are your thoughts? Y'all can type in the chat box. You can just speak it out loud. Yeah, good. So Ellen said, how do you convey nomad though? Isn't nomad a bit like being free? Sure. So nomad is, he liked to do nomad because he likes to travel a lot for his work. He's a regional performer, right? He is on Broadway, but he loves doing regional theater. He is always on the road doing gigs here and there. So for him, that nomadic lifestyle was very important. Now, if we look at the rest of his branding, we see that his tagline, which is straight up on his landing page, a nomadic minimalist using athletic physicality, vocal stamina, and investigatory exploration to tell stories that move. So we tied in that nomadic keyword into his tagline. So even though that this image doesn't really speak to nomad, remember, you really want to try to hit 2 of the keywords, right? Disciplined, adventurous, charismatic, empathy and compassion are the other ones, right? And his mission statement, just so you can hear that as well, is I'm an athletic body, a clockmaker mind, a compassionate spirit seeking the stories that pulse and resonate. I use muscles and voice to become a character craving chameleon qualities that challenge the limits of my physical form. I approach stories, the microscope, studying and excavating with student-like vigor. I want to move and be moved by the pieces I serve and see. And Aries, ready for adventure, sign me up for your quest. So, yeah, so how do you convey empathy through which isn't something you can see or be tangible? He does look charismatic. He looks interesting. Yes, great. Thanks, Ellen. So again, remember, this is just the landing page. So when designing it, we went off with a strong point of, we only had a few images to pick from in terms that were landscape. I mean, I was designing his website. So we definitely had to take into mind, okay, what was the pitch, right? What is the story we're trying to tell? We want him to seem also strong, a leading man, because he does play leading man a lot of times in the work that he does. And let's see, let me navigate to, let me see, do I have his website up? Maybe that will help as well. We do have other examples, Christopher. Let's see here. Okay, great. I'm gonna let that load. Okay, great. Okay, cool. So those are the kind of things that went into this. The last thing I want to point out about Christopher is this denim jacket. He has a lot of photos that we use on his website with that denim. So I went and color picked that color and used denim blue throughout his website. You can see it in the buttons. You can his headshot, resume, contact, enter. That's that denim blue. And when we look at the rest of his website, which is christopherjoelonken.com. So awesome. Let's move on to the next one. So this is Remy. She is also, funny enough, an actor and yogi up in New York. I somehow have a lot of friends in those. Yoga is one of my jams and I miss it greatly. Well, the class setting. Okay, so let me just talk through Remy's site really fast. So Remy came up with these keywords: quirky, femme, edgy, empowered, yogi, diverse. And I love this. She put in parentheses around diverse, human blob, which seems a little interesting, but to her, it made a lot of sense in terms that she was this type that could play a lot of different characters. The rest of her site speaks to that by using different photos from the different shows that she's done, different looks, to showcase that human blob element that she was so keen about. Her mission statement is, as an actor, I strive to always be working on my craft, exploring new ways to tap into my creativity. I vow to always stay true to my voice and what I believe in. There should always be equal opportunity in this business because that is what makes for truly amazing work. As an artist, I see myself using my privilege and opportunities to invoke positive change in this world. From that mission statement, you gather she's really in tune with privilege, power dynamics, class differences, and those are the kinds of works that she loves to do. She loves doing commentary pieces. And if you dig further into her website, you'll see that come through more and more. Her tagline is actually right here in the front because I thought it was brilliant. A quirky, fun-loving empath with an edge that will slice through you. And this tagline kind of blends those two ideas that she has. She said quirky, femme, edgy in her key words, and her tagline kind of brings that all together on top of how she is naturally, which she's very much like direct, straight to the point, no bullshit kind of girl, which I absolutely love in her. And everything that she does speaks to that nature. Now, her color choices is a rose gold. She actually had this color on her phone, and I tried to like color match it as much as possible, and this is what we went with. So again, even though she's playing more into that edgy vibe, we still wanted to get more of a feminine quality as well. It was important for her to have both. Now, an example of that is the color is, that rose, gold, pink tone. But if you look at the font choices we picked for her, it's pointed at the ends, it's modern, it's sans serif. But if you notice the M and the E and the A, they kind of dip slightly inward, just a little bit, giving that nice blend of femme masculine quality. And the rest of her website uses that same font style as well to help give her site a feminine tone and an edgy tone at the same time. Any questions about this little snippet that we have or anything I mentioned? I know we're kind of covering a lot, but I thought it'd be important to just showcase the different styles of branding that can come through using the same formula that I've created for branding. Good. Great. Oh, thank you, Ellen. Ellen said such a lovely landing page, so simple but very striking. Perfect. Love that. Okay, well, let's go in a different direction than an example. This is KML, Personal Concierge Service. They're based in Miami, Florida. This is a business. We're now switching gears because I didn't want to talk solely on just being creatives. I wanted to also give an example of what a business brand could look like. And this one is kind of different because she is like a one-woman business in Miami. So when we were talking about her brand in this, we also mentioned, we kind of looked at her as a person because they would be interacting face to face. So here's what her branding kind of gave us. Her keywords that she created were driven, private, balance, hospitality, thrive, and efficient. Okay. Her mission statement is, regardless of who you are, what you do, or what your specific needs are, we will restore a sense of balance and calm in your life by effectively and efficiently handling your to-dos. No matter the amount of assistance requested, you'll be treated with the utmost respect, highest level of discretion, and luxury level service. Life can be overfull, so focus on what's most important to you. Thrive, breathe, and let us handle the rest. Right? It's pretty clear what she's about. I love this mission statement as an example because it really does speak to her business and what her business is about. And why she does what she does. She really does have a passion for making your life simpler by taking over some of your tasks and to-do lists so you can free up time for bigger and better things. Now, her tagline, she has 3. I challenged her to come up with a few because she's a business and I wanted to see the variety. So the 3 that she came up with are allowing you the space to thrive, breathe, and live your life. Service, integrity, and confidentiality, always and without question. And her last one is, in your home or across the globe, we are wherever you need us to be. Now, this one I found very interesting in terms of a tagline because she's based in Miami, but she's willing to travel. So it's important for her to have a tagline we use somewhere and language that we use somewhere on her site that spoke to this global identity. She's world traveled, she knows her way around things. So even though she's a Miami local, she wanted to let people know she could be anywhere and help manage projects all over the place. Speaking of Miami, her color choices are very Miami, right? She was very clear about that. This background image that you're seeing is actually an image I found on Unsplash of a building in Miami in the Soho area, I believe. I blurred it out to get more of the focus on the text. That was something we had to do just to make sure that popped. But then once we found this focal image, we just pulled those colors out of it. And the blue that you're seeing and the orange that you're seeing underneath the KML is actually colors that are based upon this photo. And there's also a third color, more of a tan, sandy kind of color that we use. And that is really giving her business that Miami vibe without, well, I wouldn't say too heavy-handed. We use a lot of Miami photos on her site, but it just kind of lifts up that energy and nature of what she's going for, of being very friendly, being very open, very bright. Yeah, and that's kind of where we went with KML. Any questions about what we're seeing so far? Mission statement, taglines, all of that kind of fun stuff. Give people a second. No? All right. All right, all right. Okay, well, that's that though. So I will take any questions now that people might have. I would also, because we have just a few people in the Zoom room itself, if anyone wants to and wants to volunteer and kind of walk through their personal brand and work on it together, we have time, and I would love to do that with someone, basically give you a free branding session. So if there are no questions, or if you give a question, pop them in there, or is there someone that wants to kind of dive into their branding and kind of get a little hands-on experience of doing this? What do people think? Great, cool. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing the screen then. And again, if I'm going to type in this chat box, but if anyone wants to email me to get this guide or just to ask questions about anything, you can always reach me at social media at jtodd. I sent that to the wrong thing. Let me change that. You can always email me at socialmedia@jtyautry.com. And I'll be more than happy to answer questions there. But let me stop sharing this. Fantastic. All right, cool. I need you to unmute yourself really fast and tell everyone your name.
Hey, I'm Zlatko.
Hi, Zlatko. And you're tuning in from Prague, right?
Yeah, I'm tuning in from Prague. I'm actually also similar to you. I'm an actor, and I'm also, my background is in digital marketing.
Okay. Oh, fun.
Yeah, and I was wondering, thank you a lot for the presentation, and I like many things you said, and I'm kind of always thinking about how to, improve my own website. And I was actually wondering how big thing are like the personal websites for actors and creatives in US or in New York in the days of IMDb and all the, platforms and all the databases and social media. If you can maybe talk just a little bit about that.
Yeah,
And
of course.
I can share with you my website. You can check it out to see what do you think about it.
Yeah, if that's what you want to go, we can definitely go that. I would maybe let me answer your question and then let's maybe like dive into your branding a little bit and we can check out your website as well.
Sure.
I would love to see what you're working on. What platform are you using for your website?
I'm actually on WordPress. I kind of
Okay.
have, yeah, I have some experience with doing websites in WordPress, so I kind of stick to that right now.
Stick what you know. I'm a Squarespace kind of guy, but WordPress is great as well. Okay, so your question was how important are personal websites for creatives in today's world? I'm going to speak to it on 2 points. Pre-COVID-19, it's debatable, right? Where maybe a personal website, some people are in the camp that you don't need a personal website because your work should speak for itself because you have IMDb, Backstage, Actors Access. There's casting all about, casting 101, so many things that you have to be on as a creative, right? And now that we're in this new digital world where people are stuck inside or needs to be social distancing, we see that digital marketing has become even more important now more than ever. My position on it hasn't changed, which is actors should have a personal website because it is the space that is solely dedicated to your voice. It's where you can talk about yourself. You can put up as many reels as you want of you doing whatever you do. Tell people what kind of work you're interested. Keep people updated on the kind of work that you're doing. I always challenge my students, especially the new ones coming through Atlantic acting school when they're graduating. A casting director or a director or a producer, when they're on your website, they want to know everything and anything about you. They're looking for something in particular. And if you shy away from giving them everything, they may not see that one thing that helps to push them over the edge to get you the work that you want to work. I have many different stories from people that have booked work solely from their website alone because it had their reel, it was their personality, it had plenty of photos of them, not too many. It wasn't too many photos, right? I find that sometimes actors can go a little too heavy on every photo being a headshot. It doesn't really tell me much about you as a performer. And that is the success of a website. The other kind of story I like to tell, if it's, let's say it's you versus somebody else auditioning for a role, and you have a website, he doesn't. Y'all look the same, you sound the same, your cadences are very similar, right? That's kind of the acting world. There are people that look just like us and sound just like us, right? It's the beauty of being in an industry like that as well. Who do you think wins if you have a website and this other actor doesn't? You
I
do.
guess, yeah,
You do.
yeah,
Yeah, because you have reputation, right? They can look, they can Google your name. They Google your name and you pop up, and then they can go from there and take a look and see, oh, I can see what this person's about. Oh my gosh, do you see this video? We didn't see this side of this character. And your competitor, right? The other person auditioning for the role doesn't have that. They can't see more about them. They can't learn more about them. And so all of a sudden you're in higher favor because of that difference between you two. So that is why I always say that websites for creatives are super important. You should get a website. It is going to be the thing that might help you win the role. You know, so that's kind of my little spiel on why you should have a website, just like that.
cool.
But now do you want to dive into your branding a little bit and see?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Let's do it. Okay, so for everyone tuning in, we're going to do the same thing, this entire deck and presentation. We're not going to go through the entire thing because I'm not going to make you write 5 paragraphs of text here and now, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But we're going to go through the things that we can do here, such as key words. So, sorry, I am sometimes so bad with names. Zlatko, that's it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
When thinking about, let's think about you as a performer, because I think most people tuning on to here are coming in because they're performers or love performing in some aspect. So when thinking about your brand as a performer slash you, because it's kind of the same, right? We're looking to translate your personality, who you naturally are, to a digital space. What 5 keywords come to you when you think about that?
Um, comedian would be
Comedian.
first. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Um, international or
International. Love it.
yeah. Um, I don't know what would be the word to combine like film, theater.
Film, theater. So this is where we kind of
Or if you would, I don't know. I know. Let's say in some markets like the film and theater actors, it's like more separated thing. In other markets, it's more kind of people doing everything.
sure.
So
So here's
but
the
maybe
challenge for you on that one, though, right?
yeah.
When you're talking about, and this is great, I love that you brought this up. When you say things like entertain theater or film or entertainment, that keyword in particular is talking about the business you do. It really doesn't describe to me your personality,
Okay.
right? Like that is what you do, but we're building your brand around the fact that you do entertainment. You may want to create a subset for your brand called occupation and narrow in what your occupation is, right?
Hmm.
Which could be actor, creator, actor, comma, producer, comma, writer, or it could be, there's different ways to say your occupation that could link all these different facets together. But when thinking about the keywords that describe your brand, let's focus on something that's your personality, right?
Okay.
Like I love comedian because it tells me you're funny, right?
Hmm.
You have timing, you understand language. I like international because it tells me that you're cultured, you're well-rounded, right? That describes your personality.
Yeah.
So we have those two really strong ones. So what are 3 other words that describe your personality slash your brand?
Well, I just want to say one more thing. What I said international, it's not only like because I can work internationally, but because I also have like international background, where I was born in former Yugoslavia, and then I moved to Prague, and I kind of like speak several languages, and my identity is kind of. I wrote actually performance based on this topic. Myself struggling to find my like true identity, or like I feel I'm kind of still in search of my own identity through years. So I don't want to use the keyword lost or something like that, but maybe uh, yeah.
Would you say
And
adventurous is a key? Are you very adventurous? Would your friends call you adventurous?
I guess they would. Yeah.
Okay. So I like the combination of international and adventurous. And I took international as what you're saying is not
Okay.
like you're an international performer, but you are an international individual that comes from many places, right? You
Yeah.
are a melting pot. That's part of your identity. And I love that adventurous quality. Um, let's think. What are 2 other words that describe your personality slash your brand? There's a whole dictionary of words out there such
Yeah, I
as
know. But then when once you start to think about yourself, it's kind of a bit difficult, you know?
I know.
Yeah.
Do you consider yourself also quirky, charismatic, easygoing, direct? What are some? I have like a whole list of words because
Yeah. I,
balance.
yeah. I would say charismatic, and because I'm Balkan origin, and I often I'm asked to do, for example, roles of guys, or like auditions the guys who are from Balkan or Eastern Europe. So that's something I was in one of these platforms. I kind of when you could put all the hashtags, I would put Balkan or Balkan guy or something like that. So maybe, or Balkan in general, it's a region which is connected to me very much, and so I would maybe use that as well.
Great. And I think that's great too, because it it's part of your identity in the sense of where you come from. And you hit on something very nice, which is it's who you play as well. when we are performers and we're auditioning, we have to know what's our gold mine, right? Which is the roles that we can naturally walk into. So another way to look at this is that the key words kind of line up those people that we can naturally play on stage or on film. And so I like using that last word, Balkan is what you said? Yes.
Balkan, yeah.
Balkan, because it's a region, but it does describe a particular type of people, right? And in combination with adventurous, international, charismatic. What was the first one you said?
Comedian.
Comedian. Yeah. So all that together is like the narrower focus that we're looking at. Because remember, you have 100+ keywords we could go into that describe you, right? Yeah. You're multifaceted for one as an individual, but we're just trying to get your branding in line with this narrow focus, right? The next thing would be a mission statement. Out of curiosity, do you have a mission statement? You don't have to spit one on the fly. They sometimes need a personal space to like think it out.
Well, I don't have it written exactly, but or maybe I have somewhere. I think I was doing such a thing once. But in general, I like to connect to people, and now I'm going to describe it in a maybe longer, but I call it in Czech. It sounds better, but like touching people, basically, through the energy, through emotions you give them. I don't necessarily mean touching them physically, but through what you do, what you bring on them, and like so that would be something like that. But I would have to, because usually those things I do when I write these kind of things, I usually write it in Czech rather than English. So I would have to.
And that's totally fine too. And that's great. I think you should write in your natural language, the language that people are going to be looking at. So don't shy away from that. Totally respect that. And I understand that we're kind of in a bit of a barrier because I'm an English native speaker. So we're trying to translate something. Based on your description, the one note I have for your mission statement, when you think about it, is what you described was very lovely in terms of wanting people to be touched by your work, be moved by your work.
Yeah, moved is the word, I guess.
The part that I want to dig deeper in, right, is looking at what kind of emotions are you wanting to bring up, or what kind of stories should they be moved by? Do you want, I'm just trying to give examples, like, do you want them to be moved by work that speaks about international culture or international war or international differences? Is that something that is really close to your heart? So when you think more about your mission statement, you have a great foundation. Just dig a little deeper and make it as specific as possible to you, right? Because here's the thing. Every actor wants the audience to be moved.
Yeah.
Right? That's the generic part. To an outsider, it seems like, oh, that's really great. But to us as creators, we know that's generic. So now we have to add in that layer of what actually do I want them to be moved by? I would also suggest you could take your mission statement to the next level by asking a question: how am I impacted by the stories I'm telling? What do I want to take away from the work I do? I think one of the beautiful things about businesses in general, but I think that creatives, we kind of get to tap into it a little more, is our work is very therapeutic. We get to challenge ourselves and learn about ourselves through our work. And that's why our mission statements can lean into that, because we kind of share the stuff that we're kind of digging through and working through in that moment. A great foundation. Keep working at it. Write it in Czech, your natural language. Like, don't shy away from that.
I mean, I should have. I have something probably somewhere, something in English as well. But yeah.
I mean, later with it if you want to. I would love to take a look at it. If you want me to like give it a pass, shoot me an email later.
Okay, cool.
Great. Okay, so then the next thing, we have keywords. We worked on our mission statement. Now we got to come up with a tagline. All
I
right.
actually have that in
Oh,
English.
great. Okay, cool. Give us
I've
the
been
tagline.
recently, yeah, I was recently working on it, and what I came up with is basically simple, and it's just playing parts.
Playing parts.
Yeah, and I had the longer version, playing parts in um, film, drama, and audiovisual arts, but I'm not sure if it sounds too, uh, I don't know, not long, but wasn't really super happy about it. It was more about it, the last, parts and arts were rhyming, so I was thinking like it's like it sounds good when you read it, but then
Yeah,
actually I was like thinking maybe just playing parts is simple and it's what I do. I play parts. I'm not sure if it's like maybe if it isn't too short, maybe it should, you use putting some more words into it. But yeah, that's something I was thinking maybe to take it as a starting point and then, think a little bit more. I'm just right now in the process of like redoing my branding. So,
of
but it's
course.
something I thought it could be, you know, short and
Yeah.
telling
Well,
what I'm doing.
and I think you've hit on something really fun is that you created two taglines out of one sentence, right? Playing parts because you are a performer makes sense. I get it, right? Playing parts in, you said, a bunch of different fields. I like that even more. You may need to refine it just a little bit because what it tells me is that multidisciplinary field that you're in. So because I told you like your keywords shouldn't have entertainment or all the things that you do because it's your business, your tagline could have all those elements in it. So you don't need to shy away from it at all.
Okay.
So I think both work. I love playing parts. It's such a fun thing to say. It's super easy to have on a website, and it just speaks to being a creator in general. So really nice work there. Um, Great. Okay, so I think going through, well, we have the fonts and then we have colors and sample images and short bio and long bio. So fonts are kind of like a journey you and I would go on our own. I don't want to like get into that, but
Sure.
I would love you just to answer the question based upon the axis I created. And if we're members, we have sans serif, which is modern to serif, and we have feminine and masculine. Your personality, your branding, where do you fall on this graph?
I think somewhere I think it was railway.
The more
Yeah,
sans serif
yeah,
masculine?
something like
Great.
that.
So what you need to do is that you can just go online and look up fonts or whatever tool you use and just, you know, skim through the fonts that aren't modern, skim through the fonts that aren't masculine, like narrow your focus, make it easier for you. And when you find a font that speaks to you, just go for it, right? Um, and the last question that I'll ask, and then we'll wrap up, because the rest you can kind of do on your own journey and everything.
Sure.
And I hope this has like helped people understand how this all works. When you think of color, a color that represents your voice, your brand, your personality, what comes out to you?
Blue, I guess.
Great.
Yeah.
Blue is great. Blue is representing the ocean. It's a wisdom color. It's about thought. Uh, there's a lot of fun emotional context behind blue. Now, when speaking of blue, do you mean dark blue, medium blue, light blue?
Medium blue, I would say.
Medium blue, kind of like the blue I'm wearing right now.
Maybe like the uh, jeans kind of shirt. The shirt one of your clients had in the beginning.
The denim kind of blue color.
Yeah, that kind of blue.
Great. Yeah, and all that you would need to do is that you could go in color hexa, type in denim blue. I think it already populates the hex value for you, or you can go to Google and just type in denim blue color code and see what color codes pop up. Type that into the little browser and pull in all those other fun colors. And then based upon that, you can pick your color palette. You know, I went with some brands I do just all blue, but blue works well with like a purple undertone to it or a dark green even, you know. Um, so thinking of your keywords, I would actually maybe see your brand going with a color that isn't blue to help complement all the different facets of your life. So that is something that I would consider for you, is that once we settle on blue, picking a different color that helps support your vision, and like your keywords and your tagline and all that kind of stuff.
Would you, that's the question I had. For example, you have your colors chosen. So from that point on, when you get, new headshots or new photos or whatever, would you always stick to these colors as well in terms of, backdrop or the clothes you wear and stuff like that? Or
Yes,
it's just,
yes, and yes and no. So I know what colors, I mean, when thinking about headshots, right, which is a whole other version of branding,
yeah.
I want it to fit the style of branding that I have. Sure. I know what colors work well for my eye tone, for my hair, my skin tone, and all that. So my headshots, I'm going to default to what looks good for what I'm wearing, for my skin tone as like a background and stuff. If my headshots and my acting brand has shifted dramatically enough, my branding might need to shift altogether. And that's okay. And I love this question because I think it's a great place to end, is that recognize your brand will change down the road. Just get comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Especially for like my younger creators out there, between the ages of like 20 and 30, you're probably going to be changing every 3 to 4 years your brand, because you're just still going through maturity and you're still like aging. And then 30 to 50, you're probably going to slow down a little bit in terms of how often your brand's changing. And then from 50 onward, I think there may be only like 1 or 2 more times that your brand really shifts. So if you take headshots 3 years ago and you're getting new headshots done, it might be a good point to, well, what is my brand? Has my type changed? Have I changed? And you might find there's just minor changes that need to be made, but it's never a bad thing to take a look at what's happening.
Yeah.
Good question. Good question. Well, thank you so much for volunteering. So appreciate it.
Thank you very much for all your help.
Yeah, not a problem. Thank you. Thank you. Well, everyone, I will close by saying thank you so much for being here and participating. It's been such a joy to teach this class to y'all. I am going to be, hello. I'm going to be hopefully in Prague in October performing my solo show, A Southern Fairy Tale. If everything goes well, fingers crossed. Please, please, please check out, if you haven't, the rest of Prague Fringe online material this week. It is stunning. It's so much fun stuff. I think I'm doing some kind of trivia night on the 28th, a queer trivia night. So I'll be there if you want to join me. And again, feel free to reach out to me. My social media handle, if you want, is just JTYAUTRY.
I just jumped in at the very end. I've been watching on YouTube, not here, the whole time. I'm Steve, I'm the festival director, and I just jumped in at the end to say thank you very much for doing this. It was absolutely fascinating, I have to say. I loved your play the other night. I'm just so sad that you can't be here in person. But of course, let's keep our fingers and everything crossed for October. Thanks very much for doing this. It was really interesting. And of course, it'll be up on the website and all across the social media channels for a bit longer. So hopefully some other people will learn from this wonderful, no, it's not seminar, is it a webinar?
We'll call it a webinar.
That's a new word for me. I'd never heard that before. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, everyone, take care. Thank you so much for joining in.